and welcome to the live series podcast brought to you by Amicus Recruitment. This is the podcast that gives you insight into the life and role of tech leaders from all over the world. Today, I'm joined by CTO of Secret Spa, Alex Fox. Hiya, Alex. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm very good, thank you. Yeah.
Brilliant. We're going to kick straight off and just if you want to describe to us, for anyone that might not have heard of Secret Spa or familiar with your work, like what is it that you do there and what is it that Secret Spa does?
So yeah, as you said, I'm the CTO at Secret Spa, so that involves running the tech team, as you'd imagine, plus quite a lot of product development as well. Secret Spa is we're a startup based in London, and what we do is we're kind of to boil it down, a Deliveroo kind of for getting your haircut or nails done. So beauty and wellness that comes to your home, and we operate in London, Manchester, and Brighton.
I love that. It is a good idea, and I really like how you've described that as well as a Deliveroo for hair and beauty.
Yeah, you've got to kind of boil it down just to something people get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it quite a big team that you're running at the moment then?
So the company in total is about 25, but it growing, so it's hard to keep track. The tech team currently is me and 3 other full stack developers. So
okay, sweet. Is it in a place of growth at the moment, Secret Spa? Is that something that you're looking forwards to? Yeah,
I mean, obviously COVID 2 years were kind of an interesting time for us, but it was a good opportunity to learn a lot and refine the product, and it's been, yeah, since we've kind of been back to normal, it's been going really well, and yeah, certainly the team is growing, and yeah, it's an exciting time.
Yeah. What is your, do you want to just maybe walk me through kind of how you plan to kind of approach that growth in terms of either maybe hiring within the team, or how does the company on a whole approach kind of scaling up and things like that? Is that kind of, do you have a lot of power over that as the CTO?
Yeah, so I suppose like within the tech side of things, I think I'm very keen on growing kind of at the right speed. I don't want to hire like 10 developers and then kind of the efficiency curve is quite brutal, I think, if you hire kind of too quickly. So I'm keen to grow, but I just want to hire the right people, and I want to build that autonomy out in the tech team, so it's not a kind of massive management strain. The other sort of thing to get right in terms of timing is, right now we're all full stack developers, which is great because one developer can handle a feature from the back end, front end, the whole package. But obviously at some stage it's going to make sense to have specialists who can really get their head into efficiencies around the database, or security, or whatever it might be. And I suppose, yeah, just getting that timing is important. I think right now I'm looking for more full stacks, I think, just because of the versatility is so good. In terms of the rest of the company, it's there's several departments that we're going to grow at different rates. Obviously, like customer service is always an area that we're very aware of. Like you don't want to scale your customer service team with company size because the cost is just so great. So that's where like the tech team has a big opportunity for us to improve efficiencies, whether that's adding in-app chat or chatbots or special tools for the customer service team to use, so we're not having to scale that up at the same rate as the number of bookings we're getting.
Sorry, go on, were you going to say something there?
No, no, you go ahead.
Hi, sweet. I was just saying, like, it is a clever approach, isn't it? Not to just sort of make sure that things are kind of staggered so that they can benefit the company, down the line, and you're not just kind of over eager to build out a team too quickly. That's too big, and you've got to manage that as well at the end of the day, haven't you? So
Yeah,
if everyone's like, if you look, you say you're basing everything around full stack engineers at the moment, do you have an approach where do you kind of encourage those developers to, for lack of a better word, develop themselves, or like I kind of hate myself for using that a little bit,
yeah.
but you know what I mean? How do you kind of support those developers and help them to develop their skill sets maybe, or just how do you kind of go about that and developing the skills?
Yeah, of course. I suppose it's when you're like the most experienced and leading the team, it's so easy to take control. You kind of you've got it all visualized, and it's easy to kind of, I think, to almost oppress them by kind of taking too much kind of control. So what I try to do is just give them that space to grow, and part of that strategy is giving them autonomy, giving them trust to work on big features, probably like bigger than they might expect at their level. And I think along with that, it's getting them to develop their full stack. And I mean full stack isn't tech. I mean like the kind of product stack, because I think, from my own experience, as I was self-taught developer, and I know a lot are, but even if you went to university and learned it, I think there's always a tendency as a developer to work on your programmer side of things, to get good at programming, to write better code, to learn more languages, because that's kind of why you do it. So it's like a feedback loop. So you're kind of growing this kind of one kind of vertical in the kind of whole product development cycle. And I suppose to expand on that further, I think there's planning, there's the execution, which is the programming part, there's the delivery of that, and then the aftercare. And so I what I see a lot is there's so much focus on that execution part, on the programming, that these other parts just don't get developed. And that's fine if you want to be maybe in a larger team where you're just given coding tasks to do and you have to get on with them. But right now, I mean, my vision is that everyone develops those other skills, so everyone practices that planning, that product development. Everyone works on the kind of the aftercare, so looking at the analytics, caring about that, and thinking of the next iterations, and getting the other kind of parts of their kind of their skills kind of flowing. And kind of what that means is that they get a better understanding of why we're doing it. They feel a stronger connection to the business. They're more engaged, and quite frankly, it takes a bit of pressure off me as a manager, because I'm not having to think about all these things. They're doing that themselves, and I think the payback from this has been really strong. I feel like they, as far as I can tell, at least they feel really involved in everything that's going on. They're not just a kind of cog cranking out code. They're having a meaningful impact on the business. They can see their analytics dashboard. They can get meaningful feedback on the products they're building, and how it's affecting number of bookings or retention or whatever the metric might be. And at the end of the day, they're going to be more engaged with the business. So fingers crossed they stick around. I mean, that's what we're trying to do here, and build those skill sets.
Yeah, sure. It is. I think it's a sign of a good management system, and good individual managers as well, when kind of people maybe a little bit less high up in the sort of hierarchy within the company do feel valued, and they feel like, you know, they're not, like you said, just a cog, and that they actually are presenting something that is definitely of value, and that they've all kind of collaborated in some way to do that. So you did mention kind of that people work together a lot in your team there. Like, is collaboration something that's quite important to you? Is that something that you encourage quite a lot in your team, or?
Yeah, I suppose probably more with the rest of the teams in the company than, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we do collaborate a lot in terms of like code reviews and the kind of standard stuff. We don't do we don't do a lot of pair programming, which I think is something I'm interested in doing more of. But in terms of collaboration with the rest of the team, you know, the rest of the company, that is kind of part of this kind of autonomy where, you know, you'll be given a project with, you know, customer service, say. Now, not, it doesn't all flow through me. You know, I'm around and I will check in, but like the idea is that they will go to that team and set the meetings up and discuss the ideas without too much kind of oversight from me.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that means that I feel like the tech team can get a bit isolated, especially in a kind of beauty orientated company. I mean, there's no other. Everyone is a woman apart from the tech team. So I think the tech, you can feel a little bit you know, isolated sometimes in a sense. So getting everyone to work with everyone is obviously to break down that barrier. And yeah, I mean, I think just, yeah, getting people to work on that, like I said earlier, like remove some strain on me and just strengthens their position in the company.
Yeah, it sounds like it gives them quite a bit of freedom as well. Like, again, just making them feel more valued and not like they're a cog, like they're making their own sort of decisions on those things across the company. So if you know, I think it's really interesting that you say that, you know, they feel kind of isolated, especially in a company that is primarily women. I mean, I know that I feel like that's kind of like a beauty cliche almost, but
Yeah.
sometimes that is just
Yeah.
and again, the kind of, you know, not to sound cliche again, but generally tech teams can be made up of introverts almost, for lack of a better word sometimes. So
Yeah.
I'm going to assume you're at home there, unless you're in a spa and it's all kind of misted up. But I'm assuming, is everybody remote at the moment? Obviously, aside from various departments at the company, is the tech team all fully remote?
So we've kind of gone back to hybrid.
Okay.
So we're tech team, we go in Mondays and Thursdays.
Okay, cool.
And then there'll be some crossover with other teams that go in, you know, at various other days. One of our devs is fully remote. He's over in Spain, but he moved there this year. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's a kind of fairly new thing.
Sure, it wasn't always remote. And I'm just, the only reason I bring it up is like I'm quite interested with you talking about isolation and things, and just wondering how you integrate remote workers, or, you know, during those 3 days a week, like you just mentioned, where everybody is remote. How do you integrate with each other, and how do you kind of ease off on the kind of, you know, the team feeling a little bit more isolated from the rest of the company, but also coming together as a team as well?
Yeah. I guess it's, you know, I'm aware that like devs like that alone time to kind of just crack on with the code, and I suppose that's why I kind of figured that two days a week was probably enough, because we could do more, and I go in a bit more sometimes just to you know, cross over with a few other people. In terms of like keeping that team vibe, I mean, we do stand up every day kind of online, which I assume is fairly standard. And then I suppose it kind of depends on, you know, it's tailored to each program on what work is being done. You know, it's usually a case of just everyone just can get on with what they're doing until they hit a sticking point, and then they can reach out to me or someone else, and then obviously on Slack or whatever, that they can have a call. Like I think I guess it means that like a lot of stuff will be saved for the days we are together. So maybe we want to like run through something that's, you know, really needs to be a whiteboard, or maybe you know, we do all our planning, our sprint planning in person, minus the one guy who's in Spain.
Is that just so you can kind of bounce off each other a little easier, or?
I just think people talk more. I suppose that's probably the negative, as far as I can tell from video calls, is just people will say less. And something that like I've haven't done it yet, but I think something that I'm interested in. I've heard a lot of companies will have like meetings will be about instead of like me presenting something to the team and then discussing it, everyone like reads it up front, and then people write the comments like in the document, and then the meeting is more of a Q&A, and so you kind of give each person space, because I think that's like one of the problems, especially if you're a bit introverted. You don't want to like speak up or, you know, shout out. So I think it's just like, from my point of view, it's finding ways to involve people, asking people what they think. Don't expect them to shout out an answer. You know, you have to ask them what they think. Otherwise, it's easy to overshadow someone if you're in the room, or whoever's the most chatty in your team. So it's just kind of like managing people's kind of egos, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. It's something we see it proper kind of a little bit, obviously dealing with a lot of hiring processes and kind of helping some people structure teams and things like that. It is something that, you know, that kind of, it's almost a myth now, I suppose, of the people that are talking more in meetings are generally seen as more authoritative. And it's I don't think that is a thing anymore, because it doesn't come across on Zoom or Teams or Slack. And so that's kind of been eradicated a little bit. But like what you were saying there, I think it sounds like you're doing a great job in it, and it's obviously really transparent. I think that's probably the best way that I can describe it, the way that you're working. Is that something that you kind of automatically do to kind of, obviously you've been dealt this hand of having a remote team and with the pandemic and everything, but have you kind of actively sought out to be transparent as a leader in previous positions, or have you had a leader that's kind of been like this and you've taken influence from that? Or just kind of like talk me through to your approach as an individual, as you being a leader, because I think, you know, like what I say, like you just sound super transparent and very collected about it all, so I'm just interested to know where that kind of comes from.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of it comes from my CEO, who, you know, when I stepped up, because I didn't actually join as the CTO. I was a full stack with some others, and I guess I rose to the top, which is nice. But yeah, obviously he's helped me kind of develop this process, and I think I just sort of, I don't know, I've seen it in life, I suppose. Sounds a bit grandiose, but like, I just mean within, like, you know, I have a lot of awareness of like mental health, and just how like you see when people aren't honest, or like honest with themselves, how kind of it can just cause a lot of kind of problems within yourself, and that goes to work, to being around other people. Like if you can't talk about your problems or the good things, then like you're not going to be able to get everyone moving in the right position, in the right direction, sorry. And yeah, I guess I'm quite a straightforward person, but like, and I'm aware, like, you know, that can come across quite bluntly. So I suppose that's something I'm working on, is improving that, because, you know, I actually, sort of my history prior to this, I spent a lot of time working with my brother on lots of apps, and we made a lot of great products, but him being my brother, we're very similar. And I think like that kind of attitude of being a bit too honest, and not kind of not kind of being able to sugarcoat it enough, or whatever, like led to a lot of kind of negative kind of emotions, I suppose, and so I didn't want that for this team. So with being transparent, I suppose you don't want to be, it's not about being blunt. You need to be able to like work with understand how people think and how they work and what they'll be receptive to. And I think it's about encouraging honesty from them as well about how they feel. Like we have one-to-ones every month with each me and each of the team, and you know, at the end of the day, I want to help them be their best person, best developer. So you know, it's all about asking them what they need from me, what they're not enjoying, and kind of giving them the environment that it's like okay to say if you're upset with something or something's not working for you, because otherwise if I can't see the problems, I can't fix them. And I suppose as part of that, like we do OKRs quarterly for like personal OKRs, and we'll develop them together with what they want to achieve, you know, whether they want to, maybe they're front end sort of focused and they know a bit of back end and they want to do more back end, you know, it'll be about building those out so they can strengthen that area, or maybe they you know, it will be things I've noticed. Maybe I think, well, they need to work on the kind of project management side of things, and we'll build those out together. And what that does is it gives us a kind of an agreed measurement. So when we have our next catch up, you know, we score them together. And I suppose it's not like me coming out with loads of negatives all of a sudden. It's like something we've agreed upon, a framework. And then it's something to reason against, which has been really useful, because I think otherwise you can just end up, just sort of going off on tangents. But if they're working towards something that you can explain why they're doing it and why they're why it's meaningful to them, then they're going to feel a lot stronger about it.
Yeah, that is a really interesting and honest approach, I think, as well, and it sounds really fair as well, the way that you manage people. Like, I picked up on one thing that you said there when you said you kind of watch to see what people are receptive of, as opposed to kind of just, you know, flinging things a certain way or trying to use different methods with people, or even like just kind of blanketing your team with one approach, like, you know, seeing the individual and seeing what they're receptive to, and having some self-awareness as a manager as well is something that's really important, and it's probably not necessarily talked about enough. I think a lot of the time in management, people are quite not necessarily in a negative way, but sort of wondering like how they're doing as a manager, and then it's natural to think that, because it is your career at the end of the day, and you're going to want to wonder how you're doing. But being receptive of you know, noticing the things that maybe aren't intentionally being broadcast from your team as individuals, if that makes sense. And just having that self-awareness is really important, isn't it? And it sounds like you're kind of nailing it, so that's pretty cool.
Fingers crossed. So
what are the kind of I've got two more questions, but I just want to touch on kind of what the future looks like for Secret Spa. What have you got coming up over there, or are you looking to hire and to grow? And I mean, if you want to plug something, this is your chance, but I want to see as well kind of, you know, what are there plans to kind of grow within the next sort of year or so, or where's it going to go?
I mean, I can't really talk about the plans too much, really, but it's there's some exciting stuff in the pipeline, which should be by kind of late summer we should be have something different out there, which is super exciting. And I mean, we are in the growth phase. So potentially some other cities expansions on the horizon, but we'll see. I can't go too much into it.
No, that's fine. I tend to kind of pry into that at the end anyway, just in case there's anything we get some hot tips on the podcast. But so all right, so I kind of like to finish off with the same sort of couple of questions, and the first one is it like, if you've got 3 words to describe how you think your team would describe you as a leader, what do you think those 3 words would be?
what would I like? What would I like them to be, or what?
Well, you could have got away with
um,
it, but now I'm going to think that you're fibbing.
yeah, I don't know. I suppose I'd hope that they'd say I was understanding, I guess, based on what we kind of just talked about, as that's something I kind of put a lot of effort into. Um, I think they might say I'm energetic, because I don't know. I guess like we have quite a kind of aggressive release strategy, and I suppose
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if that's the right word. And
What tell me about that release strategy? How is it aggressive, and how does it reflect on you as energetic?
I suppose it's just like I know, again, it depends on the size of your company, but like if you compared to a much larger company, we release like way more frequently and put way more features in. I suppose what I can't remember the exact phrase, but it's something like, if you don't feel a bit nervous about your release, then you're kind of releasing it too late.
Yeah. I swear it was Mark Zuckerberg or somebody that
That's probably, yeah, but I kind of get it. Like,
yeah.
we're happy to accept like a threshold of kind of bugs and stuff that we can fix relatively quickly, just to keep that rapid iteration kind of going. So I guess maybe that's kind of comes back to the energeticness of just like always pushing to get stuff out, and yeah, being a little bit risky.
Yeah, no, it sounds it. Yeah. Thanks for clearing that one up. Yeah.
Yeah, as a third word, I don't know. I'm kind of stumped. I mean, yeah, I guess maybe decisive, I guess.
Okay, I like that.
Let's roll with that. But, maybe I should have asked them and done a survey.
Sorry, I'm just going to drop them all a cheeky email. Is this right? Are you sure? Decisive, but couldn't decide on the word decisive.
Yeah, right. That's true. Maybe it's a little bit.
I'm just joking, Alex. All right. So the last one, they were great answers. Thanks for that. The last one is kind of generally what advice. Obviously, we get a lot of our audience to kind of aspiring to climb the ladder in tech, or are already there and just kind of want to see what else everybody else is doing. So what kind of advice would you have for people that wanted to be in the position that you're in today?
Yeah, I mean, something I didn't do enough of, and this is such a cliche, but unfortunately it's so true, is just yeah, failing fast and learning. And it's so hard to do, and that kind of ties into this whole thing of like wanting to release rapidly and learn from it, because when I was building my first products, like there'll be such a tendency to want to refine before you showed it to anyone, because it was your little kind of precious baby. You didn't want to know, almost. And that was just like led to a massive waste of time. So I think that's such an important thing to I guess get good at failing, I suppose, and learning from it. I think the other thing is, yeah, just like honing your skills outside of being a programmer. I think, and that kind of is alongside the whole like releasing quickly, is because there's a lot to get your head around outside of programming. Like, you might be a great programmer, but it doesn't mean you're going to make great products. It doesn't mean you're going to make great teams. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to have great release schedules. So I think you've got to practice those other skills, the kind of the planning, the product development, the aftercare. Understand why analytics is so important, because I know it's kind of a boring area for a lot of people. But like, if you can't do an experiment and understand, get any feedback on it, how are you going to know if it's worked? And I suppose, the other thing is just, just kind of do stuff that isn't in your comfort zone. Another kind of cliche, but again, it just means you're going to like become a more colorful person and just get a wider view on people. And if you want to manage people, you need to understand people. So get out there and and meet more people.
That's amazing. They're all really good pieces of advice. I know you're saying that they're a little bit cliche, but I think they are for a reason.
A cliche for a reason, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Especially like throwing yourself in at the deep end and just, fail as fast as you can and learn. You're going to learn so much faster, aren't you, by just throwing yourself in and yeah, just there's some really brilliant advice there. I feel like we probably could have gone on a little bit longer about certain things, but maybe we can get you on again for a future episode. I think that'd be really cool. Maybe after all the secret spa stuff's gone on.
Secrets, yeah.
secret spa things have happened. But yeah. All right, Alex, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's actually been really interesting talking to you today.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Been great.
Right. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can hover over the logo in the corner, hit subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok for updates. Head over to our website, amicusjobs.com, for tech news, webinars, blogs, and keep up to date on the latest Python, Golang, and JavaScript roles all over the globe. That is such a tongue twister, and it's not even that hard to say. I always just manage to mess it up somehow. Thanks so much again, Alex, for coming on. It's been a real pleasure.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.